Joining us now, Charlie Hurt, political columnist for The Washington Times, Guy Benson, a Fox News contributor and political editor of townhall.com, and Katie Pavlich, who's also a Fox News contributor and news editor of townhall.com. Great to see you all. So I mean, I didn't realize that. You can not show and deny the person who's got the most delegates their delegates, but that's all, you know, way down the line. Let's talk about that John Kasich in Ohio.
Super delegates, and now we have phantom delegates.
I was like, I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. But what about what we're hearing now in Ohio, Charlie, about John Kasich saying if he doesn't win Ohio, he's out? I don't think we can say the same about Ted Cruz, depending on what his Super Tuesday 2 results look like. So do you believe after Super Tuesday 2, if everything goes Trump's way, he wins Ohio, he wins Florida, it will be a two-man race, or do you think Cruz is somehow done as well?
Well, I think the Cruz will be done in terms of there will be no real path for him to actually win the nomination. But I think he will continue this sort of kamikaze mission that he's been on, where he can't win, but he can deny Donald Trump the 1237 that he needs to win it outright, because, you know, they want it to go to a contested convention, and a contested convention will immediately turn into a brokered convention. And the Republican Party, as big a mess as they're in right now, they're going to be in an even bigger mess coming out of that if they do wind up denying the person who goes into the convention with the most delegates, even though they don't have the majority.
Guy, I saw Senator Cruz this week, had the town hall with him. He was very focused on North Carolina. He's also fighting in Florida. I don't know that the Cruz camp reasonably believes they're going to have victory in Ohio or Florida, but they are focused on North Carolina. I don't get the impression this man's getting ready to get out of this race.
Well, no, he's won a bunch of states, so it would be crazy for him to get out at this point. He is perhaps the last man standing, although here's the thing, Megan. All the scenario planning is fascinating at this stage, because if you're Ted Cruz, really in your heart of hearts, you need Donald Trump to lose in Ohio. And the only way he's going to lose in Ohio is to John Kasich. It would also be very helpful to deny 99 winner-take-all delegates here in Florida to Donald Trump. The only candidate who has a chance of doing that here is Marco Rubio. On the other hand, Cruz wants to get both of those guys out of the race so he can get a clean shot at Trump one-on-one. A lot of polling shows that he could maybe beat Trump one-on-one. But if Trump has his run of the field on Tuesday night and racks up all these delegates, it could be too late anyway for Ted Cruz. So it's fascinating. I would love to know what the Cruz campaign is hoping to actually see happen here on Tuesday night.
What did you make, Katie, of the Ben Carson news that he may be getting ready to endorse Trump? And I know that it comes on a day where there has been some negative publicity for the Trump camp in terms of more disturbing videos from Trump rallies, in particular of some Trump supporters punching an African-American protester, and now that protester is going, now that the puncher, the person engaging in the assault, who actually said he might kill him the next time, is facing charges.
Well, and let's not forget the allegations against Trump's campaign manager, Corey Lebowski, for allegedly ripping down a female reporter and bruising her arm, which the Trump campaign said happened, and then they said it didn't happen, and then they attacked the reporter on the internet. So that's another part of this puzzle. But in terms of the Ben Carson endorsement, I find it interesting considering Donald Trump compared Ben Carson to a pedophile. But it's very clear that Ben Carson is still bitter about Iowa, even though the Cruz campaign apologized for what went on there. But it's interesting to see him endorse Trump after what he's been said about him.
And we're going to get to that story about the campaign manager a little later in the show. Charlie, I want to ask you, Ted Cruz said something today about those backing Donald Trump that became a controversy, suggesting they're low information voters. Just for those of you who don't pay attention, Rush Limbaugh uses that term a lot. He usually talks about Democrats that way. This was used by Ted Cruz, and here's a little bit of what he said.
Listen, Donald does well with voters who have relatively low information, who are not that engaged, and who are angry, and they see him as an angry voice. Where we are beating him is when voters get more engaged and they get more informed. When they inform themselves, they realize his record. He's what they're angry at. He is the corruption.
Your thoughts on that, Charlie?
Well, you know, the comments like that are exactly why so many, the Republican Party and Ted Cruz himself, they have so much trouble reaching out to these very voters that he's talking about. It's because they say condescending things like this. They think they're stupid. They think Donald Trump is stupid, and all the insults and attacks that they've leveled at Donald Trump have sort of been kind of directed at his supporters as well. And it's why Ted Cruz, the only contests that he seems to be able to win are these closed contests where they close the doors and don't let anybody but registered card-carrying Republicans into the tent. And why Donald Trump has been doing very well in these contests where he opens the doors wide open. He lets he can win when anybody is allowed to participate. And I think it's a perfect microcosm of the real problem that the Republican Party is having right now, and Donald Trump has totally exploited it.
Guy, that's what's so interesting about these. What Charlie said is right. Cruz tends to win in the closed primaries where only Republicans can vote, and Trump tends to win in the ones where moderates can vote and more independents can vote as well. And Trump's argument is that's why I am the more electable candidate, because when we get to a general election, it's not going to be all Republicans voting. And yet when you look at the head-to-head matchups we see in the polls versus Hillary Clinton, Cruz versus Clinton, Rubio versus Clinton, Kasich, Trump, so on, all those guys beat Hillary Clinton, but Trump struggles to beat Hillary Clinton in most of those polls.
Yeah, struggles is putting it lightly. The last two polls from NBC News and ABC News show him losing to Hillary Clinton by 13 and 9 points, respectively. And look, there are some people who say it's way too early to look at head-to-head polls. Those are meaningless. I think that's largely true, but keep in mind, everyone in America knows who Hillary Clinton is. Everyone in America knows who Donald Trump is. People are aware of these folks and have feelings about them already. So there might be some utility to the head-to-head polls in this context, more so than usual. But beyond that, Megyn, if you look at the fundamental numbers, in the Washington Post ABC News poll, Donald Trump has a disapproval rating of 67% of voters in the general electorate. He is 40-plus points underwater on honesty, on experience, on temperament, on empathy. These are numbers of someone who could be catastrophic in a general election. He's trailing even Hillary Clinton on honesty. Think about that.
Well, the good news for both of them is the voters don't seem to prize that. It's just amazing. They don't care about honesty. They don't care who can win. Katie, let's talk about Marco Rubio before we go. I mean, he vehemently denied that he's getting out of this race before Florida, and he said, I'm in it through Florida. He said, if I lose Florida, now we're talking about a different story. But do you believe these reports that there's a possibility of a unity ticket between Rubio and Cruz before Super Tuesday 2?
Well, I believe it was Rubio who told this network that he wasn't interested in a unity ticket, that this was something the media likes to play up and that it rarely works. I don't think Marco Rubio will drop out before Super Tuesday. I think that polling shows he actually might have a chance in Florida against Donald Trump. We're a couple of days away here. There's still time for movement there. But in terms of the long-term game, Marco Rubio really doesn't have much of a path to victory. He doesn't even get close to the number of delegates that Donald Trump already has. He doesn't even get close to what Ted Cruz has. So I think that he'll probably stick it out through Florida. He'll try to win his home state, but after that, there's got to be a realization of where he is in his campaign and that he really can't move forward into a victory.
Also should mention that Ted Cruz got his first endorsement today from his fellow U.S. Senator Mike Lee, who is, I don't know, I guess that's his BFF in the Senate. I could be wrong, but they seem like they're buds, so that was good for Ted Cruz. And we'll continue to follow the Ben Carson situation. Panel, thank you all.
Thanks, Megyn.